What if being yourself is the reason nothing changes? You set the alarm the night before. You mean it when you do. Morning comes. The alarm hits. Your hand reaches for the snooze before your standards even wake up. Later, you call it self-acceptance. You say, "This is just how I am." Then the same day happens again. Same delay. Same drift. Same quiet disappointment at night when you realize you lived by mood again. Most people think authenticity means never pushing against themselves. But sometimes what feels natural is just what feels easy. And easy has a cost. You did not stay true to yourself. You stayed loyal to the version of you that keeps wasting your life. That is the trap. It rarely looks dramatic. You skip one workout because you are tired. You avoid the hard conversation because you do not feel ready. As you waste another hour scrolling because your mind says you deserve a break. And every choice sounds gentle, reasonable, almost mature. You tell yourself you are honoring your nature. You are being real. You are not trying to be fake. But the room changes when life starts reading your pattern. People trust you less. You trust yourself less. Your promises get weaker in your own ears. Your standards stop sounding serious. Even your goals begin to feel embarrassing because you keep protecting the habits that are killing them. This is where stagnation becomes betrayal. Not in one huge collapse. In small moments where comfort keeps winning and you keep calling it identity. You are not stuck because life forgot you. You are stuck because you keep defending the self that should have been outgrown. And this is where the damage starts. Not when your life falls apart. When you protect a small weakness, it is your personality. You tell yourself you work best under pressure. So you wait. You delay the email. You postpone the plan. You let the morning drift because forcing yourself feels unnatural. By noon, the day already has that familiar shape. A little guilt, a little bargaining, a little voice saying you can still recover it later. Then someone asks how the project is going. You smile. You sound calm. You say you are still figuring things out. But inside, you feel that sting. Because you are not figuring it out. You are repeating yourself again. That is the first mistake. You keep confusing your current pattern with your real identity. You say, "This is just how I am." But look closer. That sentence only appears when discipline is about to cost you something. When the bed is warm. When the work is boring. When the gym feels heavy. When the hard conversation might expose you. Suddenly, authenticity becomes a shield. Not for truth, for comfort. And comfort is quiet in the beginning. It does not ruin your life in one scene. It ruins it in slow motion. A missed morning. A weaker promise. A standard lowered so gently you almost call it peace. But your future feels it. Every time you obey the version of you that wants ease, you teach your life not to expect more from you. That is how potential starts disappearing. Not through failure, through permission. And the worst part is this. You call that permission self-respect, when really it is self-abandonment. But that is not the part that traps you. The real trap is repetition. It is not one late morning. It is the pattern that starts introducing itself as your character. You show up late enough times, and people stop being surprised. You say you are not really a morning person. You miss enough deadlines, and you stop calling it avoidance. Now it is just how you work. You leave enough hard things unfinished, and your mind gets clever. It starts protecting the habit with softer language. You are not undisciplined. You are misunderstood. You are not inconsistent. You are just different. That sounds harmless. It is not. Because every time you rename the weakness, you remove the pressure to change it. That is where the pattern gets dangerous. A friend asks if you are still serious about that plan you talked about months ago. You laugh a little. You say, "Yeah, I'm just taking my time." But both of you feel it. The answer lands weakly. The room goes quiet for half a second, not because they judged you loudly, because they recognized something you were still trying not to name. This is not patience. This is drift. This is not self-acceptance. This is a slow agreement with a lower version of your life. And once that pattern repeats long enough, you do something even worse. You stop disappointing other people first. You start disappointing yourself so often it begins to feel normal. That is the shift. Not just losing a day, losing the ability to feel shocked by your own excuses. This is the part people notice, not your intentions, your pattern. You say you want more. You talk about changing. You describe the life you are trying to build. But people do not live inside your intentions. They live inside what you repeat. You tell a friend you are finally getting serious. You say this time will be different. You sound sincere when you say it. Maybe you even mean it. Then a week passes. Nothing moves. No call made. No habit kept. No standard was held when it got inconvenient. Now, something subtle happens. They stop challenging you. They stop asking how it is going. They stop expecting the stronger version of you to show up. That silence feels polite. It is not. It is social recalibration. People start placing you in a smaller category. Talented, maybe. Capable, maybe. But not reliable. Not disciplined. Not someone whose words carry weight. That is a brutal loss. Because once your life teaches people that your mood leads and your standards follow, they start listening to you differently. Even you can feel it. You mention a goal, and the room does not lean in. You make a promise, and nobody fully builds on it. You suggest a plan, and somehow the energy stays flat. No one has to insult you. The disrespect is quieter than that. It looks like lowered expectations. It looks like people are smiling, then waiting to see if you disappear again. That is the social cost of protecting your current self. You do not just lose progress, you lose credibility. And once that happens, the future version of you has to fight through a reputation the weaker version has already been created. And this is where it starts costing you more. At first, it was just private disappointment. Now, life begins testing you in public. An opportunity opens, a harder room, a better job, a serious relationship, a moment that asks for structure, restraint, follow-through. And suddenly, the version of you that wanted comfort is no longer harmless. It is expensive. Because pressure reveals what your habits have you been practicing, not what you hope for, what you rehearsed. You say you want the next level. But when the next level arrives, it does not care what you meant to become. It looks at your discipline. It looks at whether you can do what is required when you do not feel like it. That is the silent test. And this is where most people break. They want a stronger future with the emotional habits of their current self. So the pressure rises, and old reflexes come back. You avoid. You delay. You soothe yourself with small comforts right when the moment needed force. Then the cost becomes visible. Someone else gets trusted. Someone else gets chosen. Someone else becomes believable. Not because they were more gifted, always because they were more governed. That realization hits hard. You sit with the excuse afterward. You replay the moment. You tell yourself you were overwhelmed, not ready, not in the right state. Maybe that is true, but that truth does not save you, because the future does not wait for you to feel aligned. It opens, looks at your standards, and closes. That is the pressure. Every time you protect yourself that avoids discomfort, you train yourself to fail the moments that could have changed your life. And this is where it gets uglier, not in public. In the private moment when your own voice stops believing you. You say you will start at 7. 7 comes. You check your phone first, then your email. Ours then. One small thing that won't take long. Now 30 minutes are gone, and the task is still sitting there like it already knows you chose relief again. By afternoon, you make the second deal. Tonight. For real this time. But when night comes, you feel that resistance in your chest, and your mind offers the same soft exit. Tomorrow will be better. Tomorrow you will be different. That line used to sound hopeful. Now it lands weak. Because you have heard it from yourself too many times. That is the hidden damage. Not just lost time. Lost authority inside your own mind. You write a plan, and part of you does not fully buy it. You set a goal, and something in you waits for the collapse. No one else can see that, but you can. That is why stagnation feels so heavy. You are not only carrying unfinished work, you are carrying proof. Either proof that comfort keeps getting a vote, your future was never agreed to. And once that becomes normal, the danger gets worse. You stop fearing failure. You start adapting to it. So break it earlier. Do the next hard thing before your mood gets a turn. Not to feel motivated, to make your word mean something again. This is where the lie gets dangerous. Not when you fail once. When you start speaking about a weakness like it deserves protection. Someone asks why you keep disappearing when things get serious. You shrug. You say, "I'm just not that structured. I've always been this way. I'm better when I don't force it." It sounds honest, but listen closely. That is not self-knowledge. That is a retreat spoken in a calm voice. Because the moment you turn a habit into an identity, you stop correcting it. Now every challenge feels personal. A routine feels restrictive. A standard feels fake. Discipline feels like you are betraying who you are. That is the trap. You are no longer fighting laziness, avoidance, or inconsistency. You are defending them. And once that happens, growth starts feeling offensive. Anything higher feels unnatural. Anyone more disciplined than you starts irritating you. Not because they are wrong, because their structure exposes what your comfort has been costing you. This is where most people stay stuck for years, not because change is impossible, because they keep calling the old self the real me. But the real you is not the pattern that repeats under comfort. It is the one that can govern the pattern. So stop asking, "What feels most like me today?" Ask, "What kind of self does this habit keep creating?" Then cut the sentence that keeps saving the weaker version of you. "No more. That's just how I am." Replace it with something harder. "This has been trained, so it can be replaced." That is where identity stops trapping you, and discipline starts becoming freedom. And this is where the correction becomes real, not when you feel inspired. When the old self shows up again and does not get the final vote. The alarm goes off. The mood is wrong. Your mind offers the familiar sentence, "Skip it once, start later." You can recover the day. That is the moment. Not dramatic, not cinematic. Just you, half awake, standing in the doorway between your old pattern and your future. This is where most people misunderstand discipline. They think the shift is emotional. It is not. The shift is behavioral. You do not wait to become someone new first. You move like someone new before it feels natural. You get up. You do the work while your mind is still negotiating. You keep the promise without asking for your feelings to approve it. That is the correction. Small, plain, powerful. Because every time you act against the version of you that wants immediate comfort, you send a new message to yourself. My moods do not lead here. My standards do. At first, that feels forced. Then it feels cleaner. Then something stronger starts returning. Trust. Not other people's trust first. Your own. You start hearing yourself differently. Your decisions sound heavier. Your goals stop feeling theatrical. Your word begins to carry weight again. That is the real win. You did not become fake. You became governed. And as you did not abandon yourself, you abandoned the habits that were keeping you small. And once that happens, the future stops feeling far away. Because now, for the first time, your actions are actually walking toward it. So, no. Being yourself is not always wisdom. Sometimes it is just comfort with better branding. Your future does not disappear because you lacked potential. It disappears because you kept protecting the version of you that demanded the least. That is the reframe. You are not here to stay loyal to your current self. You are here to outgrow it. And the moment you stop worshiping comfort, your life stops shrinking around it.